All right, welcome back to this episode of Tornado Talk. My name is Ryan Wilkes. I'll be taking you through all your coverage tonight here on Monday night, December 1st. First of all, happy late Thanksgiving. Hope you had a great holiday with your friends and family and enjoyed that time off from work and just enjoyed it all with the family. Happy early Christmas. It should be a good holiday coming up. So with that out of the way, let's get to our sponsors tonight before we get into our show. I want to thank Bojangles, BSN Sports, Comporium, Earthling Coffee, Hampton by Hilton, Jets Pizza, UNC Health Party, Pepsi, Pinnacle Financial Partners, Platt, Prolific People, Suburban Propane, Subway, and Zaxby's. So we got an exciting show for you tonight. A lot of it's pre-recorded. We do have one live segment at the end, but we'll get to that when we get there. First of all, our weekly roundup what went on this past week and prior. I know we didn't have a show last week, so we'll talk a little bit about that. Women's basketball went 2-1 with wins over Johnson and Wales and Warren Wilson, and then ended the week with a tough overtime loss to Barry. But it was a really exciting game for the women. They'll be back on the road tomorrow at North Carolina Wesleyan. Men's basketball got a win over Warren Wilson to split the season series with the Owls. That was a really exciting game. A 2-point win for the Tornadoes, and the Brevard men's basketball team will be back in action tomorrow as well at Piedmont. And in cycling, Ned Brosma competed in the UCI Elite Race, earning international points with a top 10 finish, and Ellie Clark finished in third in the collegiate race and fourth in the UCI Elite Race. We'll hear from both of them tonight after our first three pre-recorded segments. So with that out of the way, the weekly roundup, we'll get into our first segment, talking ahead women's basketball coach Donald Hudson and what he had to say after that 2-1 stretch, preparing for the conference opener with North Carolina Wesleyan. We'll get into that segment right now. Yep. All right, back here on Tornado Talk, I've got head coach Donald Hudson with me. Ryan Wilkes joining you tonight. Thanks for hopping on live on YouTube. We are pre-recording this segment. Coach, you got a road trip to get on here in a couple hours, but welcome back to the show after the holiday. You've had a little time to marinate in that stretch where you had 3 games in 5 days. You went 2-1 with 2 wins over Johnson and Wales and over Warren Wilson before that one against Barry to end the week. What are your main takeaways from those contests against quality teams?
Yeah. One, it was good to be back at home. Prior to those 3 games, our first 3 games of the year, we spent on the road, as you know. And so just really good to be back in front of our group, be back in front of our home crowd and Booster Club, family members, administration, and everyone. Felt good to get back out there in front of the group. But as far as on-court things, one thing that I took away from that stretch is, we're really sharing the basketball, Ryan. A 2-1 stretch that we would have loved to have been 3-0 for sure. But dropping 3 games in 5 nights, and a game where we know we could have done some things better, we don't feel so terrible about it. But one of the things that's standing out with this group right now specifically is we're sharing the basketball. The last 3 games, one game 20 assists on 28 makes, the next game 16 assists on 22 makes, and this last game against Barry, same thing, 16 assists on 22 makes. So we're really sharing it and getting good shots, and I would like to see the offense be a little more clean. And I know it's being kind of picky because we're really scoring it right now, but just kind of watching it from a bird's eye view, there's some things that we need to clean up before we hit conference play and get down the stretch. But overall, I'm pleased with the group. Like I said, would have loved to have gone 3-0 during that stretch, but pleased with the way we perform. Back-to-back games, 3 games in 5 nights. It's not it's a physical toll, but to me, it's more mental, and I thought we did a solid job of maintaining that mental edge in all 3 games. But really excited about what this group can do going forward with the way we're moving the basketball right now.
So I'll go all the way back to that Johnson and Wales game first to kind of recap that. Your team trailed by 10 in that first quarter. It seemed like everything was going in for Johnson and Wales, and they were filling it up there early, but 30-point swing between then and the end of the game. How impressed were you with your team's response, and what did you like offensively to kind of make that swing in that game?
First off, hats off to Johnson and Wales. They came in and I think they executed what they were trying to accomplish early on. Like you said, it felt like every shot was going down. Even the ones we played pretty good defense, they were still finding a way to get the ball into the basket. But at the half, like, we didn't make a whole ton of changes, Ryan. We just kind of talked about some things that we needed to do better, and I thought we played a little bit more aggressively. We played a little bit more zone. We played some of the zone in the first half, but played a little bit more of it in the second half. So no, not a ton of big changes, just a bit more aggressive in our zone, trying to take away their high low. Because if you were paying attention to the game, anytime they got into the high post, our big helps up. Now they're looking high low or spray out threes, and our five helping up, being a little bit more aggressive and using our hands, taking away passing lanes, kind of slowed the ball down a little bit. And when you're playing zone, you're going to give up a certain amount of shots in certain areas of the floor. And what we want to do is make sure they can't just ping it around without any ball pressure. So going into the half, we talked about pressuring that a little bit more and being better on the backboard. And I think those two things led to us getting stops, and getting stops led to us not having to play against a set defense for the entirety of a shot clock, and got the ball to go through the basket some, did some really good things, and came out with a nice win. But I thought it started with us being a little bit more aggressive on the ball in our zone in the second half.
So Annalie Morris, I believe that was the second game of a 3-game stretch where she scored 20-plus points. She had 24 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. But you also had Christina Rome with 17 off the bench. Watching your team, it seems like if you try to take one away, another is going to hurt you. So what does it mean for your team to have that kind of group where any player can hurt you on any given night?
Yeah. And I'll talk a little bit about the two guards that you just talked about, and they're playing good basketball for us right now, and having them to steady everything. We need good shots offensively and getting the ball into certain spots. I think they're doing a good job, not only for themselves, but for their teammates. They're both creating shots for their own selves in the pick and roll at times, but also finding their teammates and playmaking and getting the ball hot for us. So we're very pleased with the way those two guards are playing. But to talk about your point where we can attack you in multiple ways, that's kind of going back to what I started the show with. As far as the assisting, I think we're averaging like 16 or 17 assists right now. That means we're looking for each other, and we have multiple people that are able to put it in the basket. As a group, I think we have 4 in double digits right now. I think 3 or 4 players averaging close to double digits. So that's good. If one player doesn't have it tonight, now we can kind of continue to move it around and find the right shots for us, and we don't have to press with a certain player that doesn't have it that night. We can just move it around a little bit more. And I think that that versatility is what's making us tough to defend at times right now.
So looking at that Warren Wilson game, the second of the 3-game stretch over 5 nights, you scored a season-high 94 points. I'm sure you're really impressed with that offensively. We talked a lot about the offense, but after that game, you did mention you wanted to see things a little bit better and crisper on the defensive end of the floor. What were those focal points watching that game back that you kind of wanted to make some changes there?
Just keeping the ball in front of us, keeping it contained, and understanding that, like, right now, our first shot defense is really good. It's the second and third attempts that are hurting us at times. We're getting misses. We're forcing teams to miss shots, but at times we're not boxing out enough, and we're not pursuing the ball enough. It's easy for me to just say go rebound, but certain things go into it. Are we keeping the ball in front of us? Does our big have to help over and contest the shot? Now it's tough for her to rebound. So it's not just going to rebound. It's multiple things that kind of go into it. But right now, the first shot defense is where it needs to be. We need to continue to work that and build our habits defensively. I want to hear us talking more. I want to see us moving into our gaps faster and everything. Of course, every coach wants to see those things right now, but it's still early. We're still building. But pleased with our first shot defense, not so much with the second and third attempts. Like, if you look at some of our games, we're giving up double-digit offensive rebounds in most games right now. And I want to get that down. And I think the team needs to reward themselves. Like, we're playing really good defense when that shot hits the backboard. Now we got to go reward ourselves, And if we don't, now we just got to go do it again, But I think if we can shore up the glass a little bit, you'll see our scoring defense start to come down some.
So Olivia Miller, I know the Johnson and Wales game, she didn't shoot the ball like she wanted to. But in that second game against Warren Wilson, she had 25, 13, and 7. She was on triple-double watch for a while there. How important is she this year? I know she was with you before. She left for a year. Now she's back. How important is her abilities and her leadership for this team this year?
Yeah. She was voted a captain to start the year, and that speaks volumes, in my opinion. The team, we put our captains up for vote, let the team kind of decide, and her name was one of the ones that was most written down on our sheets. And so she was voted captain this year. And like you said, in the Johnson and Wells game, I think 1 of 10 maybe or something like that, where it wasn't great, but some good looks, And as a coach, you want to continue to take those good looks. And you know that a player like that works her tail off and somebody that's talented, eventually those shots are going to fall. And these last couple, I think we started to see that. She didn't take any different shots. Like, she's still hovering around charge circle and everything, block to block, knocking down a 15-footer every now and then, taking the same shots, but they're starting to go. But when she's not scoring, she offers a lot of other things as well, like her length around the basket, her length as far as deflections and rebounding. I think we're at our best as a team when she can get the rebound and kind of start the break, and everybody else can kind of fill lanes and run wide. But doing a lot of good things right now. I'm not just going to judge her off of whether the ball goes in the basket or not. And I can't judge any player off of that. As long as we're taking the shots that we're asking them to take and hoping they're going in, yeah, but as long as we continue to take the right ones, I'm pleased. But she's doing some really good things, not just scoring the basketball, but helping us out in other different ways, using her voice and starting to kind of get in a rhythm right now. It's kind of taking a few games and taking some time for her to get to the rhythm that we know she can get into. But it's good to see right now.
So you wrap up this stretch with a game against Barry, and I'm sure you as a coach, game like that can be a little bit frustrating, especially through the first few quarters where you start out on a good run, and then from that point on, Barry kind of controlled it until you guys made that surge and force overtime late in that game. It didn't end the way you wanted it to. Talk about the value of a game like that against a really quality opponent where shots aren't falling, but you find a way to work back in that contest.
Yeah. Hats off to Coach Johnson at Barry, a guy that I look up to in this coaching business and has been a mentor for me, and someone that I will continue to kind of cherish the games that we play. Very competitive games every year that we get to play. But a little bit about that game, Ryan. We got off to a solid start, like you said, but to me, in my mind, they took the more efficient shots, and throughout the game that kind of caught up with us. We were kind of working really hard to find clean ones, a good defensive team. And when they wanted a quality shot, they kind of threw it to a certain spot on the floor and they were able to get that, and we played a little bit better as the game wore on. Like, we kind of judge our defense by kills. And what a kill is, Ryan, that's 3 defensive stops in a row. Like, no free throws, no basket scored, no offensive rebounds, just 3 really quality stops. All right. And so we didn't have any of those in the first half. Right. But we finished the game with 4, so we got 4 in the second half, and our goal is 5 per game, 5 per game. And so we came up a little short of that, but getting that experience of having to battle back against a quality opponent, that means you got to get stops first. You can't so much worry about putting it in the basket right now. You got to stop them, and then we'll get our baskets. And that's kind of how the game went. We started to get some kills, and that third quarter led into the fourth. Our bench came in, gave us some energy. Some different players did some different things, and you look up and we're right there in that thing. There was a stretch where I think it was 56-55 our way, and we had maybe 2 or 3 possessions and got, I think, 1 quality shot and maybe 2 turnovers. So we had a chance, to maybe build upon that 1-point lead. And then, as we know, late in the game, they run a horn set, get a roll and get a dive and throw back to Ellie Callahan, and she bangs a 3, and we get it to overtime and just didn't have enough to finish. Didn't get quality enough shots in overtime, turned it over and couldn't stop them. We gave up 15 points in 5 minutes. You're not going to win that overtime period. But good experience for us early on in the year, playing a good team and playing a team that plays a different style. They play a defense that you don't see a ton of. They really, really take away the paint. You have to shoot it well to kind of loosen them up some. And hats off to them. They came in, did what they need to do, and got a good win against us as well.
So sometimes when you're having a game like that, especially one that's not trending in the right direction, sometimes you might just say, all right, we'll regroup after this and we'll take a look at the film and see what can be better. But you adapt. Your team adapted in game and made adjustments in game, knowing that your team has that ability that not all teams have to adjust like that in game. How big of a positive was that for you to see your team adjust down the stretch and make that a competitive basketball game?
Yeah, just knowing that we can come into a timeout huddle or a halftime huddle, halftime locker room, and make adjustments on the fly and not really have to burn all of my timeouts to talk about one or two things, I think that's a plus for us for sure. And it's a group that has a good amount of experience, but also has some youth. You know, our sophomores are playing a lot of minutes, and they didn't play a ton last year, Ryan. So it's pretty much a freshman year for some of them out there on the floor, and they're learning on the go, and we're figuring things out. But having a group that can come into a huddle, understand what we're trying to do, it's never really a ton of changes, just kind of tweaking some things within what we're doing, and go out and execute it. I think that's going to bode well for us going down the stretch.
So for you as a coach, when you're working with these different lineups in game, I think if I remember correctly, in that Barry game, you kept Anna Lee and Caden on the bench for a little while. They're in a little bit of foul trouble, but that group out there was working with Kennedy Noble, Christina Roan, and that combination of players. How do you kind of go about that with kind of figuring out what lineups work at what time in the game? Because, you know, usually you look at that and say Anna Lee Morris and Caden Johnson should be in the game in the back end of that game, but what was on the floor was working. How do you kind of go about that in game to kind of figure out what's going to work on the floor?
Yeah. Like going into every game, and I can't speak for every coach. This is just me, Donald Hudson, Coach Hud. Like going into every game, you go into it with a thought and a plan of your rotation, you know, but once the game starts to play out and things are going, and you're still keeping that thought of how you want to rotate your players, but you also let the game speak to you some, you know. And I thought the group of Christina, Kayla Jean, she was a part of that run to start it. Who else was out there? Olivia, Malika, and Kennedy Noble. I think that was the group, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did I just give 5? I think I gave 5. That was the group. And I thought they played well down the stretch. They defended, got in transition some, got to the foul line, you know, and kind of worked our way back into the game. Kaden fouled and had to come, like she went back in for Kayla, but got in foul trouble again. Had to come out. But I thought the group that was out there, Ryan, I thought they deserved to finish that game. I thought they earned the right to finish it. Like looking back at it, it could have been the wrong call, but I don't regret it. You know, in the moment, we were playing good basketball and getting the stops we needed and also scoring some on defense. I talked with my assistants, and we were kind of in a line with it. You know, let's let them go until they can't right now. And they all said they felt fine as far as conditioning. So we let them go, you know, and this is something where those minutes that they played to get us back in that game is something that's going to help, in my opinion, on the back end. You know, you never know what games are going to lead to or what you're going to need. And just getting that experience with our bench players, I think will really help them going forward.
So you start the trek to North Carolina Wesleyan today. It's a conference opener tomorrow. 2 of the top 3 teams in the conference preseason poll will compete tomorrow on the floor. What are you hoping to see in this conference opener to get a win on the road?
One, this is a very tough team we're playing. Like, don't look at their record and think it's a bad group. They've played a tough schedule early. I mean, this is a good team. And so we know we got our work cut out for us. We need a good practice today, a good film session to get ready to hop on the road and go over and win a basketball game. But a group that's really going to assault the offensive glass. That's how I like to put it. Like, they really, really bring it to the offensive glass. They'll take shots from all over the floor at different times, depending on who has it. But to me, they're at their best when that shot goes up and now they're racing toward the backboard. And if you don't put a body on them, it's going to be a long night. You know, so we got to bring a certain level of physicality to the game. We've got to be willing to step in and box them out and rebound the basketball. And when the box out happens, that's just a part of it. Now we got to go receive the ball, you know? I mean, so that's going to be the biggest thing. Like, I think our defense will be solid as it's been, first shot, you know, but the game will be won or lost, in my opinion, on how well we keep them off the glass. You know, it's going to be 2 teams going back and forth. And I think this is their first conference game as well. I'm not sure if they've played one. They could have, but our first one for sure. And this is a group that we had some success against last year. So they're going to want to get that back this year. You know, we ended their season last year, you know, in the semifinals. They had their eyes on going to win a championship as well, you know, and I'm pretty sure they have not forgot that, you know. So we have to travel on the road, and it's going to be a hostile environment. Every time we go over to Rocky Mount, it's a good atmosphere to play in. You know, they start making shots, getting offensive rebounds, the crowds get into it, you know, and that makes it fun, you know, and looking forward to it. You know, but we definitely got to move the ball and take advantage of some of the things that they're going to do defensively, some of the stuff we're going to talk about today. And just be ready to roll. Be ready to compete at a high level. You know, I think it's going to be a tight game. So possessions are going to be needed. You know, we can't give them 25 extra possessions off of offensive rebounds. No, that's going to be a long night for the Tornadoes. But we're going to be up for it. Have a good practice today, travel tonight, and be ready to roll tomorrow.
All right, Coach, thanks for joining. Safe travels and good luck tomorrow.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Ryan. Thanks, man.
All right, that's head coach of the women's basketball team, Donald Hudson. I want to thank him for taking some time today to join us and talk a little basketball before the Tornadoes head on the road tonight to play tomorrow at North Carolina Wesleyan. Good stretch for the women, looking to continue that to start conference play tomorrow. So now we'll catch up with head coach of the men's basketball team, Lee Burgess, after the Tornadoes split the season series with Warren Wilson here at home just about a week ago. So you'll hear from Coach Lee Burgess right now. All right, back here on Tornado Talk with head coach of the men's basketball team, Lee Burgess. Coach, thanks for joining me today and hope you had a good holiday.
I did. Thanks for having me. Hope yours was good as well.
It sure was. So congrats on the win over Warren Wilson. You split the season series there. What did you like overall about your team's performance against the Owls the other night?
Well, I thought we handled a little bit of adversity. I mean, it was a game we certainly wanted to win, felt like we could win. Felt like we could have done a lot of things differently when we played them at their place. So for us to get down in the first half, I don't know, it was probably 7 or 8 points, maybe even 9 points in the first half, and stick with it and come back and have a lead at halftime, build a decent-sized lead in the second half, maybe double figures could have been, I think. But then lose the lead. I mean, we're down with 3.5 minutes to go. So to be able to face that adversity, not really panic, not really fold for sure, and stick with it and be able to come out with a win, that was definitely a positive for us.
So I felt the game changed late in that first half when you guys did take the lead. It was a half in which it seemed like Warren Wilson was going to go to the break with the lead, but then you guys made that push before halftime. What were some of the keys specifically on the floor to create that surge and create that momentum heading in the break?
Yeah. I think with our group in general, and certainly I would think with the end of the first half as well, I mean, we've always, so far this year, so I don't want to jinx ourselves, but been able to operate pretty well offensively. Our offensive efficiency has stayed pretty good. I think we're a good offensive team. We've just got to be able to string stops together and not make them, every now and then. So when we can get stops on a consistent basis, 2-3 stops in a row, maybe a bucket for the other team, then another couple stops in a row, when we can limit them, that's the times that you're going to see us kind of spurt out and be able to either make up a deficit or extend a lead. And against Warren Wilson, be able to close that gap by getting stops, and whether that's via turnover. We had gone to a little bit of a 1-3-1 in the game against them as well, so switched up our defense a little bit in the first half, which got a few turnovers. So yeah, anytime we can string a few stops together in a row, if we can continue doing what we're doing offensively, we're going to be able to spurt out on some teams.
So obviously the focal point for them was to get the ball to Tosh Washington, who finished with 30 points, but I believe he had 22 in the first half of play. So you guys limited him there in the second half. Was that kind of the message to, focus in on him a little bit and let the other guys hurt you if they want to or if they can?
Yeah.
What was the conversation like in the locker room there?
Yeah. So, I mean, he had 30 against us at their place, had 30 against us at our place, but like you said, 20 something at halftime. So we definitely wanted to crowd him. We talked about that a good bit. We looked at, he had made a couple threes in the first half, and we were trying to take threes away from him. So needed to focus back in on that, limit his ability to lift from the arc. And then when he put it on the floor, we wanted to crowd him with several guys, make him try to give the ball up. Not something he had done a ton of throughout the year. His assist numbers were pretty low. And so generally when he gets that mindset of score, that's what he's trying to do. And he still made some tough shots. But crowding him with not only the guy guarding him, but another 2 or 3 guys around him, I think made his shots a little bit more difficult, where he would miss them. And then when he give the ball up, he's obviously giving the ball up to somebody who might not be quite as good an offensive player as he is. So, yeah, we definitely in the locker room talked about limiting his shots from the arc, but then really focusing in on as he gets inside the arc, crowding him with help side defense, coming off guys and making him give that ball back up.
So as good as he was, I think you all had a performance just as good with Twain Wilson scoring 27 points in his return to the floor. But you also had KK Horton with 17, Jaden Carnes with 12, and Malachi McClain with 10. Just the guys in double figures. First of all, on the note of Twain, how big is it to have him back on the floor and also have those other guys be able to chip in as well?
Yeah, I mean, with Twain, he's one of our best players, and so when he's out there, then we're a better group, and there's no real way around that. When he was out, it is next man up, and we certainly want to continue on. And we had some guys step up and play well in some spots. But he's a really good player. So not having him hurts. So having him back, number one, was a big security blanket for the guys to know we got a really good player on the floor with him, and certainly a weapon that we can count on as he was able to have a really good game against Warren Wilson. You mentioned the other guys in double figures. I mean, we have 5 guys averaging in double figures, and I do think that's part of why offensively we can be tough to deal with. Is it's not it's not okay if you want to concentrate on Twain, that's fine, but we've got some other guys that are going to have the ball in their hands during the course of the possession that are capable scorers. It's really hard to focus on 1 or 2 guys with how we play because we're not running a lot of set plays. Like, we're not running plays for Twain to shoot 12, 15 shots. We're not running plays for KK to get 13 shots or Jaden to get 10 shots. We're running a system. The guys are really, really good at their decision-making with when the right scoring opportunities are. They trust that their teammates are going to give the ball up when it's not the right opportunity to score. So they're willing to give it up as well. And when you've got a team that's operating like that and not hunting their own shots, and you've got good players doing it, it can be difficult to deal with. So we're really trying to do that when we recruit. We're trying to recruit versatility. We're trying to put our 5 best players on the floor that are versatile offensively, versatile defensively, and coach them in their decision-making. And so far on the offensive side, our team has done a good job of embracing that. So
on the note of KK Horton, I'm sure if you ask him, the shots have not been falling as much as he's wanted them to so far this year. But 17 points, a really good performance in a big game for you all. How critical was it for him to have a performance like that to maybe get some confidence back here early in the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think KK, he's a confident player, number one. He's been through it before. He's been through some tough stretches, and he's been through some stretches where things are going really, really well for him. So, I don't think anything was shaken on his end. He's stuck with it. He's practiced well. He stays in the gym and gets his shots up, and he's working his way through. He did have a good performance against Warren Wilson. Hopefully, he'll have another good performance. We go play Piedmont tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, this is not, it's not a freshman or sophomore that's like, oh man, I'm in a slump, and am I ever going to get out of it? He's been through this before, and so he'll be fine.
So we've talked a lot about factoring these new guys into the equation. How do they come in and produce at a high level? And I think you're starting to figure that out a little bit with this group, with guys like Malachi McClain, Khalil Black getting some minutes in there, also Noah Suji. What have you learned about these guys, and how do you hope to continue factoring them in?
Yeah, I know. I mean, they're all hungry to play. They're hungry for minutes, and they're doing a good job of taking advantage of the opportunities that they've been given. And so we're continuing to hit on with them the importance of practice. We need you to keep practicing well. If you don't practice well, that could limit the number of opportunities you get, in game time. So continue to practice well. And then when you get out on the floor in the game, don't try and do something outside of what we practice to try to prove that you need more playing time or you should be getting more playing time. When you start doing things outside of the way you practice, then that could have certainly a negative effect. And I think, the guys you mentioned, like Malachi McClain, he's shooting the ball ultra efficiently. I mean, his percentages from 2, from 3, they are really, really good. And he's done a really good job, in my opinion, of being selective on the shots that he shoots and not trying to prove a point that he should be out there more. Trying to do it in a way that's going to be helpful for the team to win. We've talked about with Malachi about some other things that he can do a little bit better that would continue to help his his minutes out there on the floor and help this team be successful. Khalil has continued to practice well and practice hard, has not gotten a lot of opportunities prior to the Warren Wilson game. I thought he did well with the minutes he got against Warren Wilson, and hopefully he can continue that and keep progressing up because, with his size and his competitiveness, he is somebody that could help us as this season goes on. So hopefully he's able to continue to make strides and get some more opportunities.
So you talk about practice and you look at that Warren Wilson film. What are some things that you've been working on here in the past couple of days to kind of fine tune and get ready for the next one?
Yeah, I talked about it in our chalk talk before the game. We need to defend better. We've got to defend better if we're going to have the kind of season that we all want to have, that we're capable of having. We've got to defend better, and so we're working through what that looks like and how to best try to put our team in a position to be successful on the defensive end. Some of it I think can be schematic. But some of it it does come down to the players and their desire and competitiveness to get stops. Sometimes I do think we do fall into, it's a little bit of human nature sometimes, unfortunately, because we operate so well offensively. Maybe that possession of defense doesn't really matter because we're going to go down and score on the other end. Certainly not going to say that out loud. It's not going to be a conscious decision. Again, unfortunately, some human nature with that. But we've got to start defending better if we're going to again, have the kind of success that we're capable of having this year. So those are the things that stick out in practice. Those are the things that stick out in the Warren Wilson film. We're going to play a team tomorrow, Piedmont, that runs really good stuff offensively. We're going to have to guard them well. Not only are they good schematically, but their players are good. Once we guard their plays, now we're going to have to guard their players. Sometimes you go into games where the concepts you're guarding are not that challenging, but the individual players are really, really good, and guarding those individual players can be a challenge. Sometimes the players aren't super talented, but the concepts they run can be really tricky to guard, and they can get some easy looks just based on their concepts. Sometimes you play a team that has both. Piedmont's a team that has both. They have good concepts. They have good players. So it's going to be a tall task for us defensively to guard them. And so I'm hoping that we can take that task head on and have a better performance than what we've shown so far earlier in the year.
So you talk about that Piedmont team, one of the larger, if not the largest tests so far this season, 3-1 with tight result against number 3 Emory, and also a tight game against Division I Charleston Southern in the exhibition. Talk about the value of playing a team like that this early in the year to kind of see where you're at and test your team against a really quality opponent.
Yeah, great measuring stick for where we are. I mean, we talked about it with the guys. I mean, it's a talented group. It's an experienced group. And we've got some history with them. I mean, we're not that far away from them. So we generally play each other every year. Played them the last couple of years. We'll play them again next year. So their personnel is not one that we're unfamiliar with. I'm not having to convince the guys of how good this team is, that they know how good this team is. Not having to, pull out tricks and, comparative scores and, look at, I mean, they know this is a good team that we're going to play, and we're going to play them on the road. So all that to say, yeah, it's a good test, for our group as we're trying to get ready for league play. When we turn the page to 2026, we're going to be in a lot of games like this. The top teams in our conference on the road are going to be similar in their ability level and talent level to what we're going to see on Tuesday. So, the level of detail that we've got to be focusing in on, getting ourselves ready to play on the road, getting ready to play an efficient offensive game, all those things that we're going to have to do to have a successful conference season, we're going to have to do tomorrow. So hopefully we do them well. And we can learn from a win and see, okay, that worked. We need to do that again, or the converse of that. Okay, that we were not ready to go. Whatever we did to get ready for this game, we need to shed that and do something different for the next one. So it's going to be a learning experience either way. But when you play a quality team on the road, you're gonna have to be operating very, very well for us to have a chance to win the game.
All right, Coach. Safe travels and best of luck tomorrow.
Great. I appreciate it, Ryan. Thank you.
All right. That was head coach of the Tornadoes men's basketball team, Lee Burgess, as the Tornadoes won last week against Warren Wilson and preparing for a battle with Piedmont tomorrow. Piedmont, very good team, 3-1 with a tight game against number 3 Emory in the country. The only loss so far for Piedmont. They also had an exhibition against Charleston Southern. That was a 12-point game. So definitely a talented squad for the men's team, a good test. As for the women, early here in the season and looking to get a big one tomorrow. We will round out our basketball segment today, catching up with Tornadoes guard Twain Wilson, who had a career-high 27 points in that win over Warren Wilson. And you'll hear from Twain right now. All right, back here on Tornado Talk, I have Twain Wilson of the men's basketball team. Twain, first of all, welcome to the show and congratulations on 27 points against Warren Wilson.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
First of all, you missed a handful of games after that opener. How good was it to be back on the floor?
It was super exciting. I know the team needs me for energy, and I like to be the energy guy, get everybody riled up. But I was glad I was able to support still. Be the energy guy on defense, clapping, and just getting everybody turned up for the games.
So in that game, it didn't look like you missed a beat. You shot 8 of 13 from the field, including 5 threes. In that win, talk about what you were seeing in that game against Warren Wilson. What was working for you inside the Bosch?
Just seeing the opportunities that my teammates got when I was passing the ball and the looks that they were getting from me. I mean, obviously, when someone has a hot hand, you're finding them every time, and they were just doing that every time, and I was able to knock them down, and I'm just glad they were able to trust me.
So I know you didn't play in that first game against Warren Wilson, but what did it take in film and prep and in-game to flip the script and split the season series?
It definitely, being hurt, it took a mindset toll on me, but I was able to lock in. My teammates were helping me a lot, but as I was watching the game, I saw my teammate was down. They definitely needed some energy, but watching film, everybody was locked in. We were in practice, going over the drills, just making sure that we were focused on principles and everybody's role.
So you were the USA South Rookie of the Year last year after a great freshman season. What did your off season look like? What did your prep look like to pick up where you left off and improve on what was a great freshman year?
Obviously, when the season ended, I was able to get in the gym whenever there was any time, whenever the sports were not doing anything. But back home, we recently had just moved from Hawaii, so we didn't really have any equipment, weights, and all that. So I was just doing push-ups or any little things that I could do at the time until we got the court in the backyard. But then when that came, I was able to get shots up, and we luckily live next to a gym near the military base. So I was able to get shots up and be there every day with my brothers, and we were just getting better every day.
So you speak about being in Hawaii. Before we talk more about this season, what got you here to Brevard? What did that process look like to get you here on campus and join Brevard College?
It took a while. I mean, going in my senior year, I didn't think I had any opportunities. I mean, I was putting up good numbers, but it just wasn't getting out there. I mean, being in Hawaii, it's super far from everyone. But Burgess came in contact with me. We had a lot in common, and we set up a meeting. It was right before my prom night, so everything was working out for me, and the story goes on from there.
So with this team, a handful of returners with KK Horton, Brock McKnight, Jaden Carnes, guys like that. But you also welcome a handful of newcomers to the team, Malachi McLean, Khalil Black, some of those guys. What has the chemistry been like between this group that's pretty much balanced between returners and newcomers? How have you guys kind of built that chemistry throughout the year?
I think the biggest thing is that no one's selfish. Everyone gets involved, and I feel like we act like a brotherhood. It's like we grew up with each other. I mean, we connected easily. Everyone bonded well, and I think that as we continue to do that, we can be a better team.
So this schedule so far has had its handful of challenges. You've gone on the road to Bob Jones. You've gone to Warren Wilson. You faced good Oglethorpe and LaGrange squads here early in the season, but you arguably have your biggest test coming up tomorrow at Piedmont, a really solid team, 3-1, a tight game against number 3 Emory, and a tight game against Charleston Southern Division I. What do you know about this team, and what's it going to take on the road to play well and get a win tomorrow?
Size-wise, I know they have a lot of size, but as a smaller team, we just got to have energy, and I know our guys can definitely bring that. We definitely watched film. We went over the plays. I'm pretty sure we got it all locked down, and we should just come to play, knock down shots, and do what we do.
So a couple fun questions now. When you were growing up, and even in high school, middle school, whatever it may be, who are some guys that you modeled your game after, some guys that you watched and some guys that you kind of looked up to when you're building out throughout your playing career?
I definitely watched a lot of Kyrie Irving. I did a bunch of his dribbles with the plastic around the basketballs. I definitely tried those for once. It definitely wasn't easy. Another shocker one was probably D'Angelo Russell. I've been watching him since he was on the Lakers. He's definitely nice. I try to model my game for them. Definitely try to get better on the passing, but definitely handles wise and just see how they, move around the court.
So coming from Hawaii, I can see you're bundled up right now. How long did it take you to get adjusted to the different climate here and the weather here? It's cold right now. It'll be cold throughout the winter. How long was that adjustment period for you?
Definitely hard. I mean, as soon as I got here, I was in Tennessee for a while and it was like snowing and a lot. So I didn't even have a puffer yet. So I'm over here in shorts and shirts and all that. But it's definitely been great. I'm able to get in a puffer now and get in some sweats. And I definitely like the weather now in North Carolina.
So I ask every athlete this question. I always find it interesting because everybody has their different things. When you get to the gym before a game, or if you're on the bus or anything like that, what does your pregame routine look like? Even before you step on the floor for warmups, do you have any superstitions, any type of music you like to listen to? What kind of gets you going on game day?
I definitely got to listen to some Drake in the morning, and then I got to do my stretches as well because I feel like that's super important when I get on the court. But like the number one meal I got to have is like a sandwich from Subway, probably like a Philly cheesesteak or probably a tuna sandwich, one of those. I would get my mom's like pasta or spaghetti or something, but they ain't here. So that's definitely my go-to right there for sure. Got to have that every game.
So I got a couple Thanksgiving related questions for you.
Sure.
I know we're a little bit beyond Thanksgiving, but what's your go-to Thanksgiving dish? What do you enjoy on the holiday?
Can't go wrong with the mac and cheese. Like my mom makes the best mac and cheese. I'm gonna need it every time. Can't go wrong. But yeah, that's definitely my favorite right there.
You know what? That was going to be my follow-up question because your head coach, Lee Burgess, does not believe mac and cheese is a Thanksgiving dish. So I was going to ask you what your opinion was. I'm in the same boat with you.
You didn't agree with them, right?
They make a great mac and cheese. So I don't know how you can't have mac and cheese on the holiday.
You got to have it there.
But Twain, last question I'll ask you. We'll go back to basketball for a minute. As you go throughout the season, what are some focal points in your game specifically that you want to improve and you want to continue to build on throughout this year?
I feel like, as I continue to be a leader for this team, I think I can talk more. And I feel like when I get more involved and I start talking, the team rallies up and we just fully going off of energy right there. And I feel like if I can just keep bringing that every game, we're going to knock down shots. We're going to get stops. And we're going to do what Brevard does.
All right, Twain. Well, good luck tomorrow. And thanks for hopping on for a few minutes.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, that is Brevard College guard Twain Wilson after a career-high 27-point performance against Warren Wilson last week. We'll round out our show now with our two cyclists, Ellie Clark and Ned Brosma. Guys, how you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good.
Ned, I have to ask you, did I butcher the pronunciation in your last name?
Not the worst I've heard. It was pretty good. It was
Okay.
pretty good. I'll give you that.
All right. So, guys, thanks for joining tonight on Tornado Talk this evening. Ned, we'll start with you talking about Nationals in Mesa, Colorado just a couple months ago. You contributed to the team's success with a 16th place finish in the short track race. Take me through that overall experience and what that kind of meant to you this year.
To get to go to Colorado this year it's always special to go to Nationals. I went last year as a freshman and again this year as a sophomore. Last year I did so-so, and this year I improved a lot on my performance. I felt my short track race early in the morning wasn't as successful as it could have been. The altitude was a bit difficult to cope with in such a high intensity effort. But then the races were combined into one day for weather purposes. So in the afternoon, I was able to put down a lot better performance. I ate a lot of food, took a little nap, and then warmed back up. And in the course that they'd set up, I was a lot better on the long climb with a so-so descent. And then I was able to really just turn the diesel on and keep it going the whole day.
Ellie, for you, what are some of the lessons that you've learned so far in your freshman cycling season? What do you look forward to improving throughout your college career?
I had a interesting first start to my freshman year. I went to the first couple of races and then I broke my hand. So I missed out on a big portion of the season. So I feel like just kind of not letting that get to me and just sticking to my training and focusing on what races I could do in the future was probably my biggest lesson. And I'm like really excited to finally get to do these nationals since I missed out on the last ones.
Before we talk about the cyclocross events, I'm going to need a little bit of help here as somebody who is not all that familiar with the sport. I'm not going to lie to you guys and act like I'm a pro because I'm not. What are the differences between cycling and cyclocross? Can you guys kind of explain that to me a little bit and how that works?
You want to start? I can start.
Well, I feel like my best way of describing it, we were talking about this earlier, was it's like an obstacle course almost.
Yeah, that's how I've had it described. I mean, effort-wise, I think cyclocross is a lot more about being explosive and being able to put down a lot of power in a short amount of time, as well as if it rains, it can become very technical. Likewise with mountain bike or road, but I think the key with cross is knowing when to put the power down, because if you put it down in the wrong spots, you're going nowhere and it's not worth it and you're just wasting energy.
Ellie, for you, how does the training differ? Do you differ in, going from cycling season to doing cyclocross events? Does the training change at all? Is there anything specifically that you focus on more? You're talking about power and speed. Is there stuff that you kind of focus on more in your training when you go to cyclocross?
To be honest, I don't really see a difference between my training for mountain biking and cyclocross. I've been doing tons of base, long endurance rides, but then also mixing in some short interval sprints and then also some threshold intervals. So, but I feel like it's also similar for my mountain biking training as well.
So Ned, for you, you competed in the UCI Elite race and finished in the top 10, which meant you earned international points. Can you talk to me a little bit about that race and also what does it mean to earn international points? What does that go towards in the bigger goal?
It was pretty special. Honestly, it's my first UCI cyclocross points since being a junior before coming to Brevard. Last year, I focused a lot on the mountain bike, and with the Hurricane Helene, nationals for mountain bike collegiate got pushed really late, and I didn't get to do much of a cyclocross season. Before Hendersonville, I went to Pan Am's and had 2 mediocre races. I dropped my chain in both races and didn't have the best sensations, so I put in a good 2 weeks of training and brought it to Hendersonville with a new chain guide and some dreams, and got a good start in the first day, put together a good race and just kept fighting till the end. It wasn't going to happen if I didn't give my effort the whole race. Then cyclocross, if you give up, it shows. It really shows. When you stop caring, you start to lose corner speed in some corners, and you're just not pushing as much,
So Ellie, for you, you competed in the collegiate race, finished in the top 3, and then you're in a podium finish in the UCI as well. What does it mean for you, especially after those, the obstacles that you faced personally this season to accomplish these results here in your freshman year?
To be honest, I was very happy with my result. I wasn't quite sure going into the race where I would end up because I haven't been able to kind of compare my fitness to the other students and all my teammates. So going in, I wasn't exactly super confident, but coming out, I'm quite happy and I'm ready for nationals.
So I'm always interested to hear this answer from different perspectives. I know you guys work with different trainers and doing different things, but how does living in an area like Brevard benefit you as an athlete to have all the different training grounds and have all the different elevations to work with throughout your college career?
Coming from New Jersey, it takes a long time to get out to any roads that I feel are safe and long enough to do any quality training on. So coming here, especially having the mountains, I have a lot of farm fields and a lot of city stoplights coming out to the mountains, not very many stoplights. I can do my consistent endurance, not constantly on the pedals, and to be able to come to some really good trails is really important as well. I've came here as a so-so mountain biker, and I've felt like I've grown a lot. I think other people have noticed that I've grown a lot too, technically, and able to hold on the downhills a lot better as I've gotten here.
Yeah, for me, I come from definitely, so first lower elevation, we're almost at sea level, but also we don't have nearly as many mountains as around here. So that was quite a big change, but I think in a very beneficial way for my training. And then similar with all the trails, we have nowhere near as technical as trails back home. I'm from Ontario, Canada. So it's a lot of flowy trails back home, where here there's some rocks and roots that I think have really helped me improve.
Ned, I was born in New Jersey, so I'm familiar with the lack of terrain over there. Did you do a lot of traveling to train when you're in high school? What did that look like for you? How did you find these different trails and these different areas that you could train? You talked about improving since you got here due to the mountainous terrain and everything like that. But what was the training like for you when you weren't really in an area that is very specific towards what you're trying to do in college?
Well, it's certainly over the winter when it's cold and shoving down snow and ice onto the roads. I'm kicked inside, and there's not much room to improve technically inside. So I definitely built a good base there inside in the winters. But I find little pockets of trails here and there and learn how to link them together. But it's just really trying to maximize the efficiency on those trails and knowing where they are and the best ways to get there. And then knowing all the lines once you're in there is also really important.
Ellie, back to you. You talk about being from Canada. What was the process to get here? What did your recruiting process look like to help you to end up at Brevard?
Well, both of my brothers, I have two older brothers, Tyler and Owen, and they both came here. So it was easy to find the school. It took a couple of years to decide whether this was the course I wanted to go. I was pursuing a different sport at the time. So I've heard a ton of stories from them, and they made it sound like an amazing time and an amazing team to be on. So it was, once I picked biking, it was an easy decision to make.
So this is a little bit of a curveball for both of you. Ned, we'll start with you. What does your race day routine look like when you get to the course? I know you guys probably do some practice runs and everything like that, but what does that day look like for you? You got any superstitions, any type of music you listen to? What kind of gets you ready to go on race day?
Yeah, certainly with cyclocross nationals coming up, you got to recon the course. The cyclocross leaves a lot of room for interpretation, I would say, with the course. A lot of people come at it with a lot of different approaches. So taking your time, working your way through the course, watching what other people are doing, seeing what's faster, what's not, what you're able to do is also really important. Depending on the course, I'm able to hop the barriers where a lot of people would typically dismount, and a lot of other technical sections, I'd say. And my running is pretty good as well. So when I have to get off the bike and run, it's not the end of the world, and I'm pretty quick with it. And pre-race superstitions, I don't really have any. I like to make sure I get either pancakes or waffles around 3 hours before the race, either powdered sugar, and if it's waffles, I'll go with the maple syrup. But yeah, nothing superstitious. I like to crumple my number to put it on my jersey before I put it on. It just makes it fit better, I've been told, and that's about it.
Ellie, same question for you. What kind of what does your routine look like for race day?
For actual race day, I'd say I have a pretty consistent warm up with what I do each race. It'll kind of involve a 30-minute spin or just easy pace, and then I'm definitely doing intervals to kind of open my legs up for when I do the actual race. And then other than that, I don't really have any superstitions at all. I kind of wish I did. I feel like they're pretty cool to have, but I don't really have anything that I can't go without. I guess except for race day, I always eat 3 hours beforehand, give myself time to digest properly, and I'm properly fueled with a big carb meal.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for taking some time tonight to talk a little cyclocross, and thanks for explaining it a little bit to me. I'm learning more and more about this sport when I have you guys on the show. So it's always interesting for me, and I appreciate it.
Okay, well, thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
All right, have a good night.
Bye.
Good night.
All right, that's Ellie Clark and Ned Brozema from the cycling team. Talked a little cycling tonight, and cyclocross, the differences between those two, from those two as well. So thank you to them for hopping on the show tonight. And with that being said, we will round out tonight's show. I want to thank you guys again for tuning in, and the engagement as always. It's really special to me to have this show on a weekly basis. We'll have another show next week. We won't be skipping a week this time around, but as we get closer to the holidays, there will be a couple dates that we do take off. But I want to wish you guys a happy Monday. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving and looking forward to Christmas. And we will talk to you soon. Home game on Friday for the women's basketball team against Bob Jones. So looking forward to that. This event, as all Tornado home events, stream live on YouTube for your enjoyment. So my name is Ryan Wilkes. I'm signing off, and I'll talk to you next time here on Tornado Talk.